Brand Origins is made possible by Partizan. From product photography to customer support, get an entire team to manage and grow your brand's social media pages for you. Visit partizan.ph for more details. If you don't like flavored fries, there's probably something wrong with you because as far as I'm concerned, it's hard to hate it. And I put all the blame on Potato Corner. Potato Corner is primarily known for their flavored French fries. Starting only with a single food cart in a single location, the brand has now become a global food franchise with over 560 locations in the Philippines and 120 in countries including the United States, Indonesia, and Panama, with several more on the way. If you're in the Philippines, it wouldn't be hard to find a Potato Corner branch in malls, schools, bus stations, and in areas you would frequently go to. Potato Corner may also have kickstarted a new trend of franchising food carts because the brand's success has convinced business owners to realize that you don't need to put up a massive restaurant to be able to make a lot of money using the franchising model. So how did the massively successful Potato Corner start out? Potato Corner was launched in 1992, and it all started with the four original founders. There's Joe Magsaysay, Ricky Montelibano, Danny Bermejo, and George Winicky. We start with George Winicky, who was working in the advertising industry. Winicky was feeling the urge to exit the employment track and be able to start his own business. He was feeling anxious about his career since he was starting a family. And so George started a business with his best friend, Danny Bermejo. George and Danny started a studio rental business called The Warehouse. During that time, there was demand for studio houses that ad agencies would rent out at a good price. But unfortunately, after only a year of operations, a fire burned down the studio. Unfortunate, but it may have been a blessing in disguise. This is where Ricky Montelibano comes in. You see, Ricky was already making a lot of money from his flavored popcorn business, which they claim is the first in the Philippines. His flavored popcorn business only had two flavors, which was barbecue and cheese. They shared that Ricky was making so much money that he was able to afford to buy himself a new car and a new phone. Phones were still new in the country back then, so I guess you could say that these were things you'd acquire if you had money to burn. And so, inspired by Ricky's success, this sparked an idea in George Winicky's mind. Taking notes from the flavored popcorn business of Ricky, George figured, why not introduce something similar, but this time with French fries? This idea came up during his Holy Week vacation with his family, and as soon as the idea hit him, he wrote it down on a tissue paper. When he returned from his trip, he pitched the idea to his best friend Danny, and eventually they shared it with Ricky, and most importantly, Jose Magsaysay, or Jomag as they call him. At that time, Jomag was working with Wendy's Philippines, the American fast food chain. And although the pay was good, Jose was looking for a side hustle that could bring in more income. The timing was perfect because the flavored fries opportunity entered the picture. The group brought in Jomag because of his expertise in operations due to his experience in working with a big company like Wendy's. Putting the four of them together was perfect since they all complemented each other with their own strengths and weaknesses. George's concept, Danny's persistence, Ricky's experience in running his flavored popcorn business, and Jomag's execution, the team was ready. Now that the four founders were complete, it was time to set up the business. But in order to set it up, they needed around 150,000 pesos as starting capital. The group recalls not having enough immediate cash required to purchase the necessary equipment and supplies. And so, they each had to borrow around 37,500 pesos. This would get each of them a 25% share of the business. And so in October of 1992, Potato Corner opened its first location in SM Mega Mall, and it was nothing but a small food court, and that's simply because they couldn't afford anything bigger. Jomag also shared that their first office was in his mom's house, and their first filing cabinet was his mom's old oven. Humble beginnings, really. Funny thing is, as is usually the case, it wasn't a smooth ride, especially in the beginning. Jomag recalls the errors they made on their food cart. In the first 3 months, they changed the cart 3 times because apparently their first cart had the wrong sign, and later on they made several other design changes that required them to change it a couple more times. So yeah, if you're making mistakes in the beginning as you launch your business, don't worry because the big brands you see today made their fair share of errors. Jomag recounts that since most of them had no prior experience in a corporate environment, it took a lot of time and effort in order to learn the ropes. Things like learning the function of the board, shareholders, and CEO, they had to learn it all as they went along. basically learning by doing. Within the first month of operations, Potato Corner has already achieved the return on investment, and all 4 founding team members who needed to borrow money for their startup capital, all 4 of them were able to pay their loans back immediately. And just like that, the flavored fries craze has begun. Entrepreneurs who wanted to franchise the brand have started sending in requests. Growth was the priority for Potato Corner, and franchising was the fastest way to achieve this. One of the reasons why, well, they didn't have a lot of capital at their disposal, and so they had to use the franchising model. But here's the thing, during that time, franchising was still a novel idea, at least in the Philippines. Sure, you have big brands like Jollibee and McDonald's making it look so easy, but at that time, they had to learn it by themselves, reading books and doing their own research on franchising. Luckily for them, they had Jomag, who as I mentioned earlier, worked at Wendy's Philippines. And so he understood the mechanics of how the franchising model worked. Despite their limited knowledge on franchising, they accepted their first franchisee. This was only 3 months after their first branch opened, and this would be their second location and the first one that was franchised, opened in UE Recto. And that their first 3 franchisees were closed on mere handshakes. Even without the formally structured manuals, they pushed through with it. They needed to grow big as fast as they possibly can in order to keep competitors at bay. Jomag shares some helpful advice to those who wish to expand using the franchising model. He said that when there's demand from people to franchise your business, don't wait, just do it. Most entrepreneurs wait too long as they claim that they're still perfecting their systems, but the problem is, if you wait too long, you might miss out on the opportunity to grow, and that could lead to lesser franchise requests. Now here's the thing, they knew that although their flavored fries idea was the first in the country, that it wouldn't be that difficult for entrepreneurs to replicate their concept. For Jomag, it didn't matter that they were the first mover. What mattered was that they dominate the territory. That they put up as many branches as possible so that they could reach more people and sell more flavored fries. And so they needed to go at it fast. In under 2 years, in 1995, Potato Corner went from a single branch to 70. They soon discovered that their franchise business grew much faster than their company-owned stores. At this point, Jomag shares that so many competitors have entered the game. They counted at least 300 other brands who were also doing flavored french fries. 1995 was also the year that Potato Corner introduced the sour cream flavor, one of the best-selling flavors today. This was also when they finally entered the Visayas region. By 1997, Potato Corner had over 100 branches. It is also around this time when Jomag would leave the group to work with Mr. Donut. But then, 1997 was also the year when the Asian financial crisis happened. Businesses took a big hit, Potato Corner included. The brand would go from 120 branches down to 40. During this time, while he was working with Mr. Donut, Jomag was also taking his master's in entrepreneurship from the Asian Institute of Management. And since one requirement is submitting a business plan, Jomag was working on one for a laboratory business. But upon learning about Potato Corner's decline, Jomag scrapped the business plan and began working on a recovery strategy for Potato Corner. He worked with several business consultants to help him come up with a feasible solution for the issues that the brand was facing. This plan needed to ensure that Potato Corner rises again. As soon as he graduated from AIM, Jomag resigned from Mr. Donut. He then presented the 5-year business plan to his former partners, and then asked them if he could run Potato Corner again if they like his plan. And they loved it. And just like that, by 2001, Jomag was back. This sparked a new period of growth for Potato Corner, growth that went beyond the Philippines. In 2003, Potato Corner got a call from an Indonesian student who studied here in the Philippines. He wanted to open a Potato Corner branch in Indonesia. At first, the group declined due to the fact that their focus was in building Potato Corner here in the Philippines, but the student persisted, calling them again and again. It took him 3 full years before Jomag entertained the idea of expanding abroad. And so finally, in 2006, the first Potato Corner location outside of the Philippines opened in Indonesia. Something similar happened in 2010. Another Potato Corner regular inquired about the prospect of bringing the brand to the United States. Jomag and the group studied the market and asked several consultants about the feasibility of entering the US, and they were actually advised not to enter the US, saying that it was like selling ice cream to an ice cream house since the US market would most likely already have several brands selling flavored fries. But that didn't stop Potato Corner, and so in 2010, the first Potato Corner location in the United States opened in LA. Jomag's advice when entering other countries, he said that you should get good lawyers. They'll be more expensive, but you'll thank yourself for doing so in the long run. Now, for growing locally, apparently one of the strategies of Potato Corner is targeting schools. Jomag has consistently shared that the brand's target are children. In fact, the Potato Corner trademark was selected by kids. Being able to set up a location inside the school cafeteria is extremely beneficial for the brand, but doing so is very challenging. What Potato Corner does is that it uses a profit-sharing plan where the school gets all the earnings of the branch, but Potato Corner earns from the supplies that the branch will need. But why go through all this trouble? Why not just choose another location? Well, that's because entering a school allows the brand to tap the student market. This is important for Potato Corner since they know that if you develop what I call as brand love with the younger market, you have a shot at creating a long-term relationship with this audience. And that's kind of what happened with Potato Corner. When the brand was starting out, it was marketing itself to children. And so today, those kids, now all grown up, have bigger spending power, making them more profitable. If you're unaware, the 20 to 35 age bracket is highly sought after by most brands because of their spending capability. They're young, they now have jobs, but they don't have families yet, and so they could spend their earnings more freely. And in Potato Corner's case, since they've been building this relationship with this audience since they were little, all they have to do is wait and make sure that their product is still good as it was before. And not only that, many Potato Corner franchisees were exposed to the brand when they were little. If done correctly, the long-term returns are huge. Sure enough, things started really going Potato Corner's way in 2015. They projected growth of around 20%, but what happened was they grew by 70%, reaching a whopping 500 locations. From a service crew of 4, Potato Corner now employs over 200 employees in their corporate offices and company-owned stores. Many of these folks have been with the brand since its foundation in 1992. Of the 560 locations in the Philippines and 120 abroad, only 20% are said to be company-owned. The rest are franchised. Imagine that. From loaning $37,500 to start a business to now having 680 branches. Potato Corner has come a long way, and it is truly remarkable. And so that's about it, guys. Now you know the brand origin story of Potato Corner. My name is Chris. I'll catch you again next time for another episode of Brand Origins. If you enjoy this show, it would mean a lot if you can tell your friends about Brand Origins. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. This episode is made possible by All Day Customer Support. As your business day ends, All Day's team wakes up and goes online to make sure that all your customers' concerns sent via Facebook, Instagram, and email are all attended to. For more details, visit brandbaker.co/allday. Once again, thanks for listening to another episode of Brand Origins.